Welcome to Monk Meditation, the show all about monks in the World of Warcraft. Today is November 4th, 2013. BlizzCon's just around the corner. We'll discuss our predictions for the event and discuss Immerseus and a great Mistweaver forum post. This is Monk Meditation, Episode 8. Hello to everyone in the dojo and those listening later on. We have a pre-BlizzCon show full of speculation, bluster, and outright fabrication for you. Hold on to your panda tails if you got them. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. We've missed you, everybody. We have our full crew tonight, and I'm happy to introduce them all. So I'm going to start out with the long-lost heir. How have you been, my Windwalker brother?
Hey, everybody. Good to be back. It's been an extremely busy fall. Visiting family, visiting other places, raiding, and whew, I'm happy. Thank you for inviting me back. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, sir. All right, well, let's go to the tanking side of things from sunnyersartofwar.com and the Fenris server. Got it right that time. Sunyer, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a long time without my podcast buddies. I kind of missed you.
All right. I'm glad it's just a kind of missed. That's all right. That's all right. And now to the healing arts, back from his extended road trip, Daikatsu.
You know, I learned something. Sometimes weekends that never want to end are bad, especially when they end up costing you $300 in car repairs at the end.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Glad you make it back on time.
Happen.
Yeah, I know. I was following your Twitter feed with interest. All right, and last but not least, now Yuki, how you doing, man?
Confucius say, never tease a gnome, an armed gnome with high fives.
Yeah, that would hit your shins out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than that, I'm very, very angry.
Uh-oh, very angry.
That blames my Confucius say. Yes, very angry.
Why is that?
For the last 5 years, I've been on an epic journey, trying very, very hard for 2 weeks out of the year to try and get a mount that does not exist in the game 7 times a day. 7 times a freaking day. I don't think it exists. And the mount, for those of you in the dojo, those of you listening, is the Head of the Swordsman mount. I don't think it exists.
Nope, definitely does not exist.
Very, very
I've never seen it.
Damn you, Blizz.
I'm trying to find the screenshot with me writing it, but...
Yeah,
That's not even right.
Someone near close to us all in this area kind of somehow managed to get one of
Pretty
those?
sure it was a Photoshop. Pretty sure.
Yes. It's
if you notice, I was actually wearing my Mistweaving set for that, so... That's what you were doing wrong, I guess. You weren't in Mistweaver? No?
I was. Of course. Most of my tunes are healers.
Yeah, well, I definitely got lucky, and I got that. My girlfriend's cursing me, and I just lean over to her and say, you got the Undasta mount the very first time you did it, so you can just be quiet. All right, well, I want to get to know you guys a little bit better since we've been gone for so long. So BlizzCon is just around the corner. BlizzCon contests have been shaken up this year a little bit. No more dance contest, but they have a talent show. So, which contest are you guys looking forward to the most? How about you, Duke?
You know, the costume contest is always the one with the best visuals to it, because you just have these people that come on, create incredible costumes. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but man, the things that some people can pull off amaze me, because I can barely put together a healing rotation with my hands.
Yeah, just from what I've been seeing on Twitter, just from the CTR folks, I'm ecstatic to see what's going to be showing up.
It's crazy. I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Now, Yuki,
it's always
how
a good
about
time, despite Jay Moore.
I'm with Duke on this one. I'm looking forward to the contest, the dress-up contest, and also last time I saw BlizzCon, some couple videos was a voice-over contest to try to imitate the voices in the game. That went pretty well, but the costumes I'm excited the most about, because it's kind of like American Idol. You have some good ones, some bad ones, and you always like to laugh at the bad ones.
All right, and Sunnier, you're actually attending BlizzCon this year, aren't you?
Yep, I'm pretty excited.
Is this your first one, or have you been before?
This is my third.
Your third one, veteran. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at clicking those buttons really fast, I guess.
Yeah.
Helps to be closer to the server.
Right. So, which one are you looking forward to the most? Which one are you going to be attending?
I mean, the costume contest is kind of obvious one. That's the biggest one. That's where most people put the hardest work into. I don't know. Are they doing a machinima contest this year? Usually they do that, and those are pretty interesting too.
Machinima one, I'm not sure if that one's in there. I think there's the talent contest, the...
Yeah, they're. I think the talent contest pretty much encompasses everything.
Yeah, they kind of
that's
rolled
going
everything
on.
together. I imagine there will be some dances in there too. So, I think they rolled like the dance contest and the, like the voiceover and stuff like that, all in the same one.
Yeah, but I know that they did a video contest for like original songs or things like that you could vote for. I'm not sure if that's still active.
Yeah. That'll be fun. How about you, Air? Which ones are you looking forward to?
Well, so this is my first BlizzCon as a WoW player. So everything is going to be completely new to me, watching it from home. But all the news, so I like the fact that there's multiple contests is new to me. And so I think that the idea of a costume contest would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, but I think the talent contest, because it's the first time they're doing that one specifically, I'm looking forward to seeing what they are, because I know that they are already pre-screening them and making sure that they're good and solid. So it should have some interesting stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one.
So what exactly is the talent contest? How is that different from the dressing up contest? Or
Well, I imagine
the
it's
voice
more
work?
like a
Boxing.
potpourri type stuff.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
singing, dancing, reading original poetry that you've written, that kind of stuff.
Ooh, do the succubus. A lot of succubus.
That's the costume contest.
Oh,
That's the other one.
do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, they do.
All right, well, let's talk about our rating progress in...
On that note,
Storm, Earth, and Fire.
All right. Well, I'll start off with our team, Rolling Thunder, me and Duke. So we keep pushing through little by little. Last week we extended our lockout and got down Dark Shaman and Nazgrim. Unfortunately, Duke wasn't there. And, of course, Leather and stuff dropped, of course. And we'll be extending again and working on Malkarok and Spoils. So that should be fun. We're pushing our way through once a week, so... All right, now Yuki, how is Zucchini Zappers going along?
I haven't been raiding lately because, like I said last episode, my hip came out of the joint and my back was messed up. So I might have to look on the forums again for a new raid team because I think they went just pure flex, and I'm looking towards a normal progression team.
Normals, okay.
Yeah, and I haven't really even jumped in LFR at all because this freaking mount. I've been farming that mount every single day on 7 tunes. And with some of them being DPS, the queues could be long, and then, with real life stuff going on, I just hop into there. Been playing a lot of Hearthstone, and I noticed how bad I suck at it. But, yeah, I haven't been raiding.
Yeah, my Hearthstone has not been good either, so... All right, how's
rough.
Frustration doing, Sunnier?
Let's see. We got Heroic Iron Juggernaut down last week, and so we've been working on Dark Shaman this week, which is an interesting fight that requires 3 tanks for a 10-man, which is kind of... had to hurry and gear one of our DPS warriors for that. But it's looking good.
Yeah, that Dark Shaman's fight is interesting. We went and did that one last week too, and so we took one of her healers and moved that to tank, and then I moved me to healer, and yeah, that was weird. So, all right, Air Iron Deficiency, how's that going?
Yeah, so we've been hitting it hard. So we cleared normals within the first couple weeks, first 2-3 weeks of it being available, which was absolutely fantastic. I actually cleared it when I was on vacation, so I was able to come back and get my clear. And now we're pushing into 10-man heroics. We have down, let's see, 4 out of 14 so far. We're working hard on Iron Jugs right now. And this BlizzCon week's going to set us back about a week because we're losing both our healers. But I think most teams, especially the ones on like our server in particular, a lot of their players will be at BlizzCon. So it's kind of an off week. Get geared up. We have a new warlock after my curse had to drop out to focus on his other raid team, and so we're getting our lock geared up. And as soon as BlizzCon is done, hopefully hitting back hard, and hopefully maybe catching up to those enforcers, the wayward enforcers a bit on every peak.
Best of luck to you.
Not saying too much, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I know a lot of teams are not going to be running this week. Our team, we're going to push for Monday. We're just going to do a raid on Monday, and hope not too many people are hungover. So.
We have 1 day planned, server reset day for a couple hours, and hopefully get some heroic bosses down, and then focus the rest of the week just cleaning up.
All right. Well, best of luck to you, sir. All right, and so let us talk about some WoW news in
Dizzying Haze.
So, not too much in the way of news this week is what are they really going to announce the week before BlizzCon? Seriously. So, since we're not having a PTR section, because PTR is not really out in full force, there was an interesting bug over the week, though, with Touch of Karma. I had noticed that I was out there farming the rares in the Veil, and I would put up Touch of Karma, and it would just last and last and last, like, well over what I thought it would have. And that... I wasn't just crazy. So apparently it was hot fixed, unfortunately, so those listening to it now, unfortunately, you won't be able to play around with it, but it was being modified by resilience, of all things. And so that allowed it to take up a huge chunk of damage before it went away. So that was fun. Did you get to play with this at all, Air?
I did inadvertently. Just in some fights when I was, purposely standing in the bad, I was realizing that my Touch of Karma was lasting about double what it usually did. And so, the way the bug worked was your Touch of Karma, no matter how much damage you took, it would reflect it back. There was no cap on the amount of damage. So you saw some people, I think I saw Heroic Siege Crafter parse Touch of Karma being the #1 damage dealing ability for that fight, for that particular monk. So it's absolutely ridiculous bug, and I kind of wish that's how it always was.
See, I wish I would have known about. I wish I would have known about that and got in front of what's that big shark out? Evermaw, is that right? On the Timeless Isle?
Yeah.
Or if you get in front of him, he'll just like auto kill you with like 60 million damage. Would have loved to put Touch of Karma up.
That would be really nice for something like Mark of Anguish on Protectors to kind of bypass that mechanic, but they fixed it. It's back to normal, but I hear it works a little bit better in PvP situations now too.
Right. All right, the other piece of WoW news out there is the title Warlords of Draenor has been trademarked. I don't want to go into this too much here because we'll go into that a little bit later. All right, so it has been a while, but I think it's time to jump into the Siege of Orgrimmar and talk about how to beat up those bosses in
Fists of Fury.
All right, so this time we're facing that giant toilet boss, Immerseus. Okay, so what are some tips and tricks for monks out there that are just getting started in the Siege of Orgrimmar or just moving into normals? Let's start off with some tanking tips from Sunnier.
All right. Honestly, this boss is kind of a pushover. You can go in with just knowing where to stand. you stand away from everybody else and the other tank, and then you're good. You just taunt when DBM tells you. You stay out of stuff that looks bad. If you really want to totally ace this fight and impress your guild, you can do some other things. Like you can use Diffuse Magic or Glyph of Guard or both for the Corrosive Blast, which is the big tank attack that the boss does. You can also help in the second phase with healing. You can drop your healing orbs on the little healable ads, and you can actually top them off all by yourself. Even if you don't have a lot of vengeance or you're a little wimpy brewmaster, you can still do it. You can also Touch of Death the killable oozes, and that'll give you a pretty strong lead, and you can clash any oozes that are getting close to the center.
Ooh, clash. I hadn't thought about that one. That's a good tip. All right, so Air for Windwalkers.
All right, so I always find that using Diffused Magic is extremely helpful, just for if you're standing in bed, it reduces that damage, and if you happen to get one of that giant blasts coming at you, you can Diffuse Magic through that, so that helps a ton. Otherwise, we have a lot of mobility in this fight. Russian Jade Wind, Roll, Flying Serpent Kick, Transcendence to get around the area if we have to go and get the black orbs to kill those. Touch of Karma is great. Also know that we can stun them with all of our different stuns, so that helps, especially if you're falling behind. And make sure that as you progress later into that fight, make sure you're using your healing spheres. It takes 3 or 4 spheres, depending on how many people you're playing with, to heal up one of those. So you can definitely help out with your off heals. And make sure you're popping it as they're coming out, so you can get out a few more spheres. So pop out 3 spheres. When they hit, kill the black one. By then, one of the green ones has been healed, and repeat.
Right. So what I tend to use is the Ox Charge stun, because if you line it up perfectly, as soon as they pop up, it'll just shoot out a line and stun all of them. That one's great.
Great if they're stacked up.
Exactly. Another thing to do is to use Touch of Karma when Swirl is coming at you, because that'll allow you to you'll get knocked back, but it'll allow you to sit through it. You can also roll through it to try to avoid some of that knockback. All right, and those are some good tips for Windwalkers. Let's go over to the Mistweaver side of things. Duke and Naoyuki?
Well, I mean, you've covered healing spheres, which all specs can do, especially, Mistweavers. And the nice thing about that is that you can always tell where they're going to land as long as it's not in the water by the little mist that appears. If it's a dark mist, DPS the ad. If it's a light blue mist, that's one that you're going to want to heal up. Far as for placement, what I like to do when that starts is look around, see where the blue fogs are, and put my healing spheres about probably 3 or 4 yards in front of it. Gives them enough time to kind of spawn, be in the world, and then when they hit that healing sphere, they can get healed to about 90%, at which point they will slow down incredibly and allow you to focus on some of the other ones that aren't healed up as well. The other thing that I've noticed in that fight is that it's a great fight if you really want to practice your fist weaving, because the damage that's coming out isn't really all that hard. If you've got 2 other healers, if you're not on tank healing, fist weave, give it a shot, try it out, and you'll be able to help burn that boss down between phases.
All right, got anything else, Naoyuki?
Yeah, if you're not the fist weaving type, which is a good strat to go with, by the way, you can also throw Renewing Mist with uplifts, Soothing Mist. The healing spheres are the best spell you can use on them. A long time ago, I'm not sure if it still works, I haven't tested it out, but Revival used to work, but I think they hotfixed that.
Yeah. Do you guys use Chi Burst at all at the very beginning? Like if you have a line of blues?
If you're spec'd into it, it's good to use. On that fight, I would recommend going Chi Burst because the Chi Wave just goes to the raid members, correct?
Yeah,
not
usually,
the healing spheres.
Yeah, Chi Wave isn't very useful in that fight.
Yeah, so it's better to go that route. Even if you're tank healing, because the Zen Sphere won't really do much unless you're hurting. Another talent that's really important for Mistweavers, I think, is Leg Sweep. because if you're busy healing and some of the DPS or the black blobs get by, you could help out with leg sweep, DPS them down, and so the DPS could come and help you out. But towards the end, it's mostly healing that and spawns. Sorry.
All right, so let's get into the meat of the show, which is going to be talking about BlizzCon and everything that's going to happen there. So let's move into...
Transcendence.
Okay, so before I mentioned the Warlords of Draenor that has been trademarked. So first question, is that the next expansion? My vote, no. I don't think it is.
Oh, don't tell me you're a blober.
I'm not sure if the Dark Below is there, but I would not be surprised. But I think it's something we haven't seen yet.
There's all this talk about the Burning Legion coming back. There hasn't been a lot done with the Draenei in a long time. At least, my first character was a Draenei, so when I first saw it a year and a half ago, I was like, wow, this is so cool, it's so new. But then I realized the exit art is essentially empty, and there's no one there, and no one likes Space Goats. So, it'd be kind of cool to see something happen with that. Just to see, bring that story up to date a little bit more. They've been here a long time. What's going on with them?
There hasn't been anything done with gnomes since ever, so why not the Warlords of Gnomergon?
Yeah, they've freed
did one
Gnomergon.
pre-Kata.
That's still sooner than, or more recent than Draenei have had anything.
True. So what do
Does
you guys
that mean
think?
an update for the Blood Elves then too, though?
Yeah.
They gave you a cape and a little item that turns you into a gnome and everything. That was pre-Kata, right?
Yeah, that was right
that
before
was right
Kata
before
happened.
Cataclysm.
Yeah.
I think it's it might. I don't want it to be, but it might go towards the Burning Legion. I'm assuming with the storyline behind Wrathion and how he was talking about the Burning Legion and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I fully expect
It'll
the
be
Burning
interesting
Legion
to
to make a
see.
return.
yeah, I mean, it could be that mixed with Draenor. I mean, you never know, but we'll find out on Friday.
What do you think, Duke?
There are a lot of people are big fans of the Burning Legion, so it'd be, and everyone's calling it, but everyone's really, read the forums. Everyone's really excited about the idea of the Burning Legion coming back, raining down fire and everything. So,
Sundering 2.
Yeah, I would love to go back to Draenor possibly, or go to other alien planets, or to see more demons. The Burning Crusade was my favorite expansion aesthetically. Like, I thought everything just looked so cool and far out there, and it still has the best weapon models. So I would love to return to something similar, and not so grounded in reality, if you can even say that for what we've had lately.
you go through that portal, a huge portal, and it's like, whoa! And you're being assaulted by demons. It's cool. I mean, it was a great thing to suddenly be thrust into, I think.
Was it Kata or Mist of Pandaria that they wanted to do that, where another Outlands type of thing, where like another world? Was that
Well,
Cataclysm?
they talked about it at the last BlizzCon, where Chris Messon said that he would love to go back out into space. And
That's where
that
everybody
pretty
was
much
tying
means
it in with,
Outland.
StarCraft. Yeah.
I'm going to plant a stake, plant a flag, and say Warlords of Draenor is the expansion. Everything kind of leads towards that. Draenor was the old one. Draenor was the old planet before Outlands. I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be a bit of an Outlands revamp, because once you go through the awesome revamped 1 through 60, to have to go back to BC style questing is kind of awful, to tell you the truth. I hate it. And again, I wasn't
Very jarring.
a big fan of Burning Crusade. The leveling at the time, I was a big fan of Burning Crusade, the lore and the story and everything else. And there was this sense of grandiose that has been missing from World of Warcraft for a while. Mist of Pandaria kind of got that a little bit for me. I really love the feeling of going around in Pandaria, but Outland
War's good.
is so foreign from just about every single fantasy land that most people are accustomed to. There are a lot of space fantasies, stories and things like that, but for what people are usually exposed to, the Lord of the Rings style stuff, Outland was just a complete departure.
Now, if they do keep with... no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I'm hoping that we can go back to that. I'm probably one of the few people that remembers Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Spelljammer, and I was a big fan of that kind of game at the time. So that's kind of where I'm hoping that we go. I'm hoping that Warlords of Draenor kind of reflects the fact that Outland, that we found other chunks of Draenor out there floating in the Nether.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. When they opened the portal, they were trying to open to other worlds as well. So maybe they found another portal somewhere in Outland that actually leads to Draenor itself. Well,
That would be interesting.
Yeah, other parts of Draenor, rather.
Outland is a chunk of Draenor,
Right. Yeah, other parts of Draenor.
So
Now,
we're either talking time travel, which I think would be kind of lame, to tell you the truth. I don't want a time travel expansion. It's
Caverns of Time expansion.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking, I want a whole expansion where we travel through time. Not really. No, you don't, because it
gets boring.
It can... I'm not worried about boring. I'm worried about it making sense. One of the coolest quests for me in Wrath was the one where you had to go to Dragonflight area, and you met, yourself at level 80.
Yeah, I remember.
And then later
Dragonflight.
you had to go back and help yourself at level 75. That kind of thing is cool once. When I have to level like that and then go through and level again, helping my past self, at that point I'm just going to shoot myself.
Gets a little timey-wimey.
yeah, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff.
Yeah. Well, it all just kind of makes sense because the writer said so. It's like, no,
Right.
come on, guys.
Now, going along with that, with the leveling, we can all fully expect, I'm assuming, the item squish is coming in this expansion.
Absolutely.
So
I think they want you to use the legendary cloak still, though, right? As you level.
I'm sure from
Yeah,
90 to
I
100.
mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that'll be squished too.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
squished
eventually.
down. But along with the item squish, if let's assume it is Warlords of Draenor, and they work on revamping Outlands, can we expect to have a level consistent gaming experience from 1 to 85 to hit Pandaria?
Yes.
Yes,
Part
'cause
of
they've done
the
it
item
in
level
past
squish-
expansions. Sorry.
Part of the item level squish is that bosses and mobs will also get squished down. Because it's not really, if you look at the mathematics, it's not really us who's getting out of control, it's the bosses. Affinity put forth a great example when he appeared on Convert to Raid a few weeks back, where he was talking about the fact that during Heroic Garrosh, he heals himself back to full like 3 or 4 times during that fight. Every time there's a phase transition, he heals himself back to full. And the reason is because in order to make the boss challenging, they decided that they wanted him to have about 4.5 billion health. That's how much they wanted you to burn through while you're fighting him. Well, 4.5 billion is higher than 2.1 billion, which is the maximum you can have a 32-bit integer. And their whole engine is built in 32-bit, so they got 2 choices. Retrofit their 32-bit engine to do 64-bit math, or squish everyone down so that in the next expansion, the first boss you meet that they figure needs to have about 25 billion health doesn't have to heal himself 25 times.
Right.
That's a really good point. That's a good way to explain it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as Affinity said that, I was like, that's it. That's
That
the
makes
explanation.
perfect
You
sense,
can't argue with that.
Yeah, so what I'm wondering, though, is what happens to Northrend? I want it to be... They did a great job of rearranging the zones in Cataclysm. So you kind of go through this path down the continents, and you can level from 1 to 60, no problem. But then you go Outland, then Northrend, and then all over the bloody place to Oldham and Hyjal and everything like that. And so I'm thinking with the item squish, they have the opportunity to revamp that again slightly. So you have just one kind of flow you go through to go from 1 to 85 and then off to Pandaria. And especially now, since they included all the way through Cataclysm when you buy WoW, it's all the way through Cataclysm. So I think they did that specifically so they could revamp everything and make one consistent leveling experience.
I hope they revamp
It'd be
it
nice.
because they took away the automatic fly zone thing, where like as soon as you turn 25, you could go to Western Plaguelands. Now you have to freaking run all the way up there to get the flight point, which is kind of annoying as you level. They want you to see the scenery, but I'm done with the scenery for alts at least. I've been through all that. I just want my flight path to level quickly.
Let's make flight paths the count bound.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know if you guys ever leveled in vanilla where, okay, it's time to go to wetlands, and it's like, I start here and the first quest is in Menethil Harbor, and it's like, okay, run. What do you mean a mount? You don't get one for another 15 levels. Run, little boy. You know?
Yeah. First mount was 40, right?
Yeah, first mount was 40.
More like
And back
52
then,
by the
first
time you're
mount
able to
was-
afford it.
Exactly. You know, if you had 100 gold, you were a hacker. You know. I'm hoping they do revamp it a bit because it's kind of weird for you to start off in. Let's just take Stormwind for example. You start off in Stormwind. It's like, yes, coming off the triumphant defeat of the Lich King. Da 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 da. Okay, fine. Level through 60. Oh my God, a giant dragon comes and attacks us. Okay, we need you to go to this other land that we discovered 4 years ago. And then you walk in and it's like, where, my God, a person. We haven't seen one in years. It's like, I'm my fourth alt, dude. We've done this dance. I think one of the things that they need to do is help out people who are leveling alts. There's the argument that they put forth that what's the point of having an alt if you're not going to play it? The point of having an alt is to have alternate high-level play. That really is the argument. And I'm hoping that they have some more shortcuts. For someone who's going through World of Warcraft the first time, I don't think there's anything really wrong with the flow. I mean, I really hate 60 to 70. Or 60 to 68, as I tell most people. Just don't bother going there until 60 and leave as soon as you ding 68. Northrend is a lot of fun. You know, you're kind of cheated out of the end of the Wrathgate sequence, but it's still a heck of a chain to go through and to work through. The stuff in Sholosar Basin is fun.
What they did right in Northrend is they gave you two paths. You can start on the right side or left side of the continent.
Exactly.
And 1 to 60 is done well because you can do Eastern Kingdoms or Kalimdor or a mixture. It's nice that way. But then once you get to Outlands 60 to 68, you have one path. When you get to Pandaria, you've got one path. And so it's kind of like you're just it bounces back and forth. It's really inconsistent.
Yeah, I think most people cap out right now in Wrath once they get about halfway through Sholosar Basin, so they don't see Storm Peaks, they don't see Ice Crown, which is unfortunate. The Ice Giants, the followers of Hodir are back there. Yeah, those are some of the funnest quests that Wrath had to offer. Especially where you first get yourself up to that giant tall peak and talk to Thorim for the first time. Those are the moments that I really wish that they could preserve somehow for someone going through the first time, but with XP being the way it is, everyone just wants to beat level cap. I'm hoping that the item squish helps a lot of that out. For one thing, I want sidekicking, as they did in City of Heroes.
Yes.
I want to be able to have a friend of mine come in and level and say, hey, listen, hold on, I'm going to scale myself down to 78, and we'll go through Storm Peaks together.
And there's been some news on that front, the little bug that showed up that's been hot fixed, but you guys heard about this, right? Where if you went through a certain sequence of events, you could end up downscaling yourself to low-level dungeons.
Yeah, I know that's been hot fixed, but that was in there. It kind of worked. There was even an interview where they said, yeah, we have it in there, it's working, we just don't know the reward scheme yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if you're really level 90 and a level 60 item drops and you win it,
Yeah.
yay transmog, I guess.
It's like they don't even have to add a reward system to it. I mean, the reward is playing with your friends and enjoying the game. You know, helping your friend level. I mean, that's something that I really liked about almost every other MMO I play has something like that, though. Heck, even Final Fantasy XI back in 2002 had it, and so it's something that I think is long overdue.
That's what I enjoyed about Guild Wars 2 is when you went to lower areas, it scaled you down. And you could play with your friends and you're not OP and all that. So it'd be interesting to see if Blizzard adds that into the game. Because they like to steal ideas like the best one ever, which is AoE loot.
Yes.
But it's not theft if you improve the idea, which is something that Blizzard really does right. They take an idea that somebody else has done and then go, okay, how can we do it better?
Right.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of the way Guild Wars 2 does it, because if I've leveled past a zone, I kind of like that OP feeling of going back into a zone and going, hey, 47 mobs, slice and dice, you know.
Yeah, I want to get back when we get to the next expansion. I want to get back to that slower play style in like heroic dungeons where you have to CC and everything like that. But I know that'll never happen because people are too impatient.
I would love to see that as well.
Yeah,
It was too hard. It was too hard.
That's what challenge modes are for.
Yeah, exactly.
no one ever
That is
CCs in
true.
challenge modes either.
Challenge mode is nothing but CCs. Oh yeah.
All right, so which is it? Do they CC or not? Windwalkers, figure it out.
If you're not CCing in challenge mode, I don't know how you can do that stuff.
Oh, granted, I don't do gold. I just go for silver, and then there it's just
Yes,
like
s-
silver is just like gather
Run,
everything
run.
together, run it through, run.
Scarlet Hall. Let's see you run through Scarlet Hall without CCing anything. Let's see how well you survive.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
How are the guys who can do that?
The Cataclysm style heroics, they have said many, many times was a mistake. And they said it was a mistake for one simple reason. You can't have content that difficult and then pick 4 random assholes from the World of Warcraft.
Right.
I remember
It's
the
a
first
smaller
week
LFR.
trying to do these heroics in random groups, and people are all, CC is for bads.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck.
It's kind
What's
of
a CC?
bizarre how the quality of life changes that they've made end up being a disquality of life. If you look, maybe it's just nostalgia, but I look back at Vanilla and running through Dire Mall and Upper Blackrock Spire. I have so many good memories of that, where you had to take it really slow and each dungeon took you 2.5 hours, but you were there with your friends. You were there with your guildmates. You weren't there with a whole bunch of random douchebags.
BRD.
Well,
Yeah,
BRD
and
just
that's-
always
Yeah.
sucked, but
That's one of the reasons why I think Flex is such a huge success.
I love Flex.
Because
Flex
now
is
it's like,
perfect.
hey, bring friends. What? They're, okay, they're not item level 540 because they haven't been rating normal. Who cares? Come on, we'll carry you. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's you said it yourself. It's not so much nostalgia; it's the fact that you were playing with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're playing with friends, anything in this game is really tolerable, even PvP.
And that goes back to my point about that descale thing, or scale down thing. If you're playing with friends, that's fun.
Exactly. Like the iTunes team where they go back and, play ICC or play Ulduar. It'd be nice to scale down to that level without
Or even-
having to be that level and wear that appropriate gear.
Right.
Just go when you're level 90, play with your friends, play it while it's challenging because they scale you down. That would be amazing.
iTunes
And
is
I
a
thought
great-
they were going to put that this patch. But
Yeah,
they
iTunes
added
is a great
Flex.
example. On the Airy Peak server, we've also got Ultra Time.
Right.
Yep.
What do you
Although
think,
they don't
Sunny? You've been
unlocks.
pretty quiet.
I don't know. That's one of the features where I don't level alts and I don't have a lot of friends who play low level characters. So
Fair enough.
I solo things as a
Okay.
high level for transmog,
All right,
and
well-
that doesn't change.
Let's move into then the next expansion. What do you think, besides story-wise, what do we think is going to be happening? What features and quality of life changes are they going to bring it?
Well, hopefully they improve on proving grounds, especially for healers. Because having a DPS warrior as a tank and a hunter that just stands in bad just kills mana. Like, worse than a heroic scenario or challenge mode. It's real rough. I mean, you could
That's real life,
reforge
right?
into, yeah. I mean,
So
you could
it's supposed to
reforge
be.
into spirit and stuff. Yeah, but I mean, in a heroic dungeon now, I'm not 463 item level either, and low spirit.
I wish
One
they
of
would
the-
scale up, for the healer one especially, I wish they would scale up the mobs instead of scale you down. Because you probably have taken your gear and reforged it and gemmed it to just the right amount of spirit and everything like that. So scale it up to make it challenging for that item level versus scale you down and make you have to reforge your spirit everywhere.
Exactly. Like, I go in there and I only have like anywhere between 1 to 2,000 spirit. I'm gonna go home in like 2 seconds, you know. But hopefully they improve on that in the next expansion, because I was really excited about that, and it was a big letdown as far as healing wise. Still trying to get that achievement. You're doing it wrong. It's kind of rough.
One of the things that I'm kind of hoping they do is ease the transition for someone who is level capped into raiding. With the advent of LFR, with Flex, it's very obvious that Blizzard wants raiding to be something that everyone does. I'm kind of all for that, because raiding is where they put all of their focus. A whole patch has come out around raid, so why wouldn't you want all of your players doing that? When you hit 90 in Miss of Pandaria, it's like, well, okay, good luck. What do I do now? I got to grind out. I got to grind reputations, but I got to grind the right ones in the right order, and then I got to do the heroic stuff, and then there's this valor stuff to figure out. And what am I doing with justice points? So nothing. Okay, so I can ignore justice points. And what are these lesser charms that keep happening? And why it was just way too much. Just way too much to saddle the player with. I really hope that they take this idea of, if you're a raider, you progress in power level through raiding. If you're a crafter, here's ways for you to progress as a crafter. If you're someone who likes soloing and likes doing reputation grinds, here's a way for you to progress through reputation grinds. And the thing is that all of those should be equal in power gain, but maybe not equal in the speed that you gain it. So that the most efficient way to actually gain power is to do a mix of all three. But if you focus in one, you don't feel like you're gimping yourself.
Here's a question.
they do that
Would you
this
like to
expansion?
have frost badges back, or whatever they were called in Lich
No,
King?
God, no. Oh, dear God.
But that same style where you just get one thing and it's for your tier. You don't have to like
Well,
have a
they
random
have that
drop off
now.
the raid.
They
I like the way they did it in Cataclysm.
Yeah, they did in Cataclysm. They have one now. I've noticed. I don't
But
know
your
where that
tier
drops
drops
off. I
from
think
the raid
that's
instead of you buying it, though. You know what I mean? Before in Lich King, you bought your tiers. Now,
Yeah, and in Cata,
a
you could buy
chance to
3
drop-
pieces.
yeah.
right.
See, I don't have a problem with having to get tier to drop from bosses. And Sonny, you're right. They kind of did that in this expansion. When I was talking about the separate power levels, it's just each one had a cap that you could go to. If you were going through the reputation grinds, you could get 476s. Unless you were raiding, then you might be able to get 496s. Then 5.1 came out, and there you could get 496s. And then they introduced upgrading, and then suddenly Throne of Thunder comes out, and now you can get 502s. And if you're in LFR, you can get 496s there too. And up until even the Isle, the most you can get is 496s, and you've got people running around with pieces that are 553, if they're raiding normal. So I actually do think that they should allow those pieces that are dropping in raids, maybe not the exact same pieces, but things that are kind of item level the same way, just not as tuned for a raider, to be bought through other ways, to be crafted through other ways.
Well, you do have the 2 pieces that can be crafted for each set, essentially, the 553s.
Why not a full set?
Yeah, it's because the highest you can make now, besides those 2 pieces, I mean, the highest you can get is what? There's a couple of pieces for 522. You can craft as well. But then, the
Yeah.
most you can buy with Valor is 490. Well, no, they had a couple 522s from
Valor is
Shadowpan.
522.
Yeah, a couple from Shadowpan. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I see where you're coming from. It's right now for a new player, a new 90, it's kind of rough. It's Timeless Isle up to 496, but if you get lucky, you can get
And no weapon.
right.
No weapon.
535 with the burden, though.
That's true. You can if you get some
You're
burdens,
guaranteed one.
you can get into 535, and so that will bump you up to Siege LFR. So I mean, you can get right into the current content.
Right, but there you have to raid.
What's
This
so
is-
bad about raiding to get raiding gear, though?
Not everyone
Yeah.
wants to raid.
Well, then why are you getting raiding gear?
You don't need raiding gear if you're not going to raid.
You always need to allow players to progress in power. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If there's no power progression, there's no participation.
I think the power progression is just something that's not gear, like pet battles. You progress quite a bit in pet battles. You don't get gear for it, but it's still a different path. I think it's similar
No,
with
of
Timeless
course.
Isle. There's the achievement progression. Like,
And Pet Battles is the best example of that. Where you have this alternate way to gain power, and you gain power through the activity you're doing. But if you're soloing, well, depending on where it is that you're soloing, you can't take down an elite by yourself unless you've got at least a couple of 535 pieces on Timeless Isle.
I
And
think
right now the game is to run around the Timeless Isle and kill shit.
Yeah, Duke. I think Blizzard saw that problem, and that's why there is now LFR and now Flex. Is that they want before in Wrath and before, and even in Cataclysm before Dragonsoul came out, you had World of Warcraft players, and then you had raiders.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the percentage of people that raided were, but it was pretty small. Because all you could get into was normals, and normals were hard for a normal player who hadn't done it before. That's a tough step to get into, and so that's why LFR was introduced. But I think the sweet spot is Flex, being able to get in there and actually seeing the actual mechanics in there, learning that before you go into normals. And there's an actual progression as you go from LFR to Flex to normal and everything like that. So even non-raiders can get in there and raid. But I see what you're saying. If you don't want to do big old group content, there's nothing for you to do. But it's a different game. It's just like PvP is its own complete separate game.
Yeah.
And Pet Battles is its own separate game. There's so many little games inside of WoW, and raiding is that one. But yeah, the crafters, you can only make so much gear. But I mean, what is there to progress to? If you're not into raids
Gold.
where the challenge is, then there's nothing out there in the world that's going to challenge you at a 496 to 535 item level. Once you get that from Timeless Isle, there's nothing that's going to challenge you unless you're Terabad. So, but that's why rating is there, is to challenge you. But if you're up to that point, you have challenge modes if you want to do 5-mans.
And I understand that there's the idea that raiding is the apex of PvE. All I'm kind of saying is that they need to flatten the mountain range a bit. Right now it's a heck of a peak. Here's everyone else, and then raiding is up here. I'm saying they need to either bring these guys up a bit or bring raiding down a bit.
Yeah,
to kind of close the gap.
Well, isn't that what LFR is for?
Yeah, that's what Flex
LFR
is
is
for,
still
isn't
LFR is still raiding.
True, it's large group content. So what I would like to see is better support in the next expansion for 5-man content, because all they put out the normals and the heroics, and then they're like, I'm done. There's no reason at all to do a dungeon in Mists of Pandaria once you get to 90. No reason at all to do it anymore. You go at the Timeless Isle, you get significantly better gear than you would running dungeons all day. So I want to see progression as we go along in the next expansion of new 5-mans coming out and allowing for that. I want to see better scenario content out there as well. Have that progression path to go, not just regular scenario and then heroic scenario. I want to see more challenging ones that you can kind of queue towards and build yourself over time. That would be great. Have the same kind of LFR, Flex, normal heroic that you do in raiding for all these other types of content.
Or even do dungeon tiers.
Yeah.
You know, you get through these tier of dungeons. Okay, now you got to get through these tier of dungeons, and now you got to get through these tier of dungeons. Same thing with scenarios. You've got hard scenarios, medium scenarios, easy scenarios. Mm-hmm. We need to have more option for people other than large group content.
There's only so much time, though. I mean, it's like, do we want to? Does it mean taking away from the large group content? Well, no, but I mean, developing wise.
Oh, they're hiring people like frickin' mad. Their team has almost doubled in the past year. They've got a lot of bandwidth right now for people. Yeah, they've got a lot of money, and they're not going to stretch themselves out too thin. This whole idea that if you work on X, you're not working on Y is completely silly. They've got people working on X and Y at the same time. It's really easy for you to get to that kind. It's really easy for them to be able to push out that kind of content. It's mostly art.
They've said it's not, though. And art is the hardest thing for developers to do because it takes forever to build models.
Absolutely. But I think if they plan from the beginning with the idea that we're going to offer multiple raid levels, and we're going to offer multiple dungeon levels, and we're going to offer multiple solo levels, so that there's something for every player to progress through in the way that they want, with proper planning, you can do anything. And I think that's what they're getting at. It's one of the reasons why they're adding in this scaling down, because they want to have group content for all levels, for all people. It's one of the reasons why they're talking about the item squish in order to kind of bring power levels down together. They're one of the things that I really hope the next expansion does is kind of even the playing ground between the different kinds of players, so that we get away from this idea that, well, once you get to this point, now you start raiding. You know, once you get to this solo point, you do dungeons. And once you do dungeons, then you do raiding. It's like, no, if dungeons is where you want to be, stay with dungeons. And you will have people that will be hardcore dungeon players.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on the next expansion besides dungeons and PvE content?
Anyone think there'll be a new race or class?
There will be one or the other. They haven't gone an expansion without doing one or the other, and I would be very surprised.
We are getting new models, though, most likely.
Yeah, they're doing the models.
Do you think that's going to be enough, though?
Well, they're not doing all the models.
Oh, maybe they are.
Eventually they are.
Eventually they are. You'll see them trickle out.
Right.
My pet reason for having a new class is because you've got 2 tokens that have 4 classes and 1 token that has 3. So to even out the drops, the drop percentages, you want to add a 12th class. What is there to? I don't see them adding a support class like a bard. I think that kind of gameplay is
that's
way too
my
dependent
pet
on other
theory.
players.
My pet theory is that we're going to get a support role. So we have tank, DPS, healer, support, and the most obvious one for any D&D player in any role-playing game is the bard, that is out there bringing up the souls of the people in the raid, helping your team members out. You're not out there doing DPS, and so the bard class, I think, would have a DPS, support, and heal role, and they can do one or the other. And if you're support, basically you're out there doing single target buffs on people, like, okay, we just bloodlusted, and I know my 1 DPS here is phenomenal, so I'm going to boost his DPS for a little bit. And so you're weaving your songs and helping him or her kick butt a little bit harder. Or your healers need some help on this one spec, so you hit your healers with a song. So I think that would be a lot of fun. But I also think just having the support role, adding that onto some other classes, such as shamans would be obvious with their totems.
But they already support classes?
Right. I think monk would be easy to have a support class too. Let's see. Mages, I could see a chronomancer spec for them. And so I think not every single class will have a support, but I think probably about 6 or 7 different classes will have support.
Well, they talk about that cooldown arms race, so it almost makes more sense to remove all of that support from all the other classes,
And
put it
give
in
it
the
to
one
one.
class,
Yes.
and then everyone else is made equal.
Yeah, but you can't
But
have it in one
doesn't
class.
that mean that now your part that whatever raid team you
Yeah.
have needs to have one of those?
No.
Yeah.
No,
No,
because...
but you need to have a tank. You need to have...
Right, you have to have two
healer,
tanks, you have to need a...
DPS.
Right, so having a support... I would say it wouldn't be necessary, but you would definitely have a benefit of it. So for heroic raiders, yes, you would be required to have one. But I think for the most part, because you take away a DPS or you take away a healer and add in your support guys. So you're going to be down some DPS, but that support guy will help your DPS by boosting your other DPS. So you can still balance it and make it kind of even. But I think you would be... It's like you would take away, 10%... No, it's a little bit higher for your DPS. It'd take about 15 to 20% of your DPS, but the Bard or whatever would be able to give you, 18 to 23%. So you have a little bit more DPS by having that guy there. So I
Burning Crusade.
right. Yeah, so that's my pet theory. I post that at probably about a 40% likely possibility. Probably more likely it's not going to happen, but that's my wild speculation.
Yeah, the two drawbacks I see, I feel like I'm talking too much. Someone needs to take over. The two drawbacks I see is, one, being just pure support is kind of boring because you're not doing anything directly. You're just enabling people to do stuff.
I liked that
doesn't
style of
seem-
play. So it's gonna defend on something.
Some people do, some people fest, and it's
Right.
going to be interesting.
It's
if
just
it
like some
happens.
people
That's
think a healer is Snorefest, but then other people they live to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, WoW already went through a phase where they had support classes, and it
They had
didn't go
shamans.
well. Whereas healers were interesting still, and all other roles were interesting, but support classes is just like, okay, we need our one enhancement shaman. Someone go recruit it.
Yeah, and that's the other option. You're going to need one support class for every party, for every group activity you do. You're going to want to find it. So now it's going to go back to the idea of you're bringing a class, not a player.
Right,
Yeah.
but if they spread the support role out to 6-7 different classes, just like the
Then
healer
you're
and
right
tank.
back to the cooldown arms race. Why bring a mage, or why bring a rogue when you can bring a monk that offers this raid utility? Suddenly the whole equation's flipped.
But if you have the support role and not the support class, is what I'm getting at. If your raid says, well, we need to get at least 1 or 2 support members in there to get our buffs out there, because what if Bloodlust was taken away and given to one of the support guys? So it's like, what
I think
if...
the shaman would raid Anaheim.
But it's just what they were talking about, that arms race of these cooldowns. It makes perfect sense to take them away from all these and make your DPS focus on DPSing, make your healers focus on healing, and not on, oh shoot, I need to go hit my heroism button now. But the support class, I think, would be perfect for raid leaders, because they know their team and say, okay, I know this person would benefit here, I know this healer would benefit at this time. That'd be the perfect...
That is a really good point. Raid leaders would just shine in that role.
Because right now most
Good ones, at
raid
least.
leaders are tanks, because they're able to control the fight that way.
Yeah.
But I think having the support role, a lot of raid leaders would jump on that.
Yeah, it's definitely some food for thought there, especially the raid leader angle. I hadn't considered that. If anyone can solve this problem, it's Blizzard.
Right.
We'll know in a week.
Exactly.
We'll know in about...
I don't know what day it is. It's what, 3 to 4 days now? Probably find
It's-
out.
It'll be Saturday,
Yeah,
your
Friday.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so any other predictions for the next expansion at all?
What about monks?
Let's move into monks specifically. So what do you think is going to be changed with your spec in particular?
Hopefully with the Mistweaver side, hopefully they steer towards making fist weaving better to play with. And,
Yeah.
you know, kind of how it was in 5.0, 5.1 type of thing, where it was just fun to play. It was good on DPS and healing. I mean, it'd be good to see if they go that route again and kind of fix the numbers so it's not so OP, but it's still fun to play. If not, just I have no idea.
I would love to see a
I'd
force
like to
spec,
see-
actually. A fist. I'd like to see them break out fist weaving and mist weaving.
I'm not so sure that I'm a fan of that idea specifically. I kind of see fist weaving and mist weaving as first gear and second gear healing. You know, if it's just kind of maintenance healing and nothing's really bad and you beat this boss a few times, yeah, just sit there, pummel them. Okay, heal. If you really need to pour on the heals and you need to be, you know, that star healer, at that point you go into mist weaving and you don't DPS at all. So it should kind of be a trade-off. You're going to give up some healing for some DPS. I think that they were just way too afraid of making Mistweavers too OP with how much DPS they could put out. I really don't see why they had to fear that, because for the most part, if you bring a Mistweaver into the raid and all they do is DPS, you're going to kick them real quick.
Right.
Especially if you're wiping over and over on a boss.
Yeah.
So I think Mistweavers are ripe for a complete overhaul, and they've been talking about that. So what would you guys like to see in that overhaul, besides just better fist weaving?
More utility with the statue would be nice, or fix our mastery, like we were talking about last episode.
Yeah, I'd like to see a new
would be
mastery.
perfect.
Another thing I would like to see is the ability to burst on a single person, as opposed to kind of hoping that they have Renewing Mist or focusing on getting Renewing Mist on everyone just so that I can heal that one person who stands in the fire.
Are we the only ones without a burst on single target?
For the most part, we have a single target burst. It's called Soothing Mist, but no one casts it unless they're trying to pad meters.
Surging mist, you mean?
Surging Mist, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Surging Mist. And it'll drain your tank of mana and like
Yeah,
no
surging
problem.
mist drains you. You can burst it, but you pay for it.
Yeah. I'd
talking
like to
about,
have
like,
something
with
that's a little
other
bit
healers.
more... I'd like to see something that's more like Swift Mend. You know, where you already have to have a person set up with Rejuvenation, and then you cast Swift Mend, and they get healed for a bunch, and then there's a little AoE that comes around them. One of the things we talked about in the Mistweaver Roundtable is that we lack the ability to control where our heals go. And I'd like to have a bit more control over our heals.
Yeah, I would love more control. Because
One of the things that I have advocated is getting rid of Soothing Mist. Just get rid of it. Make Jab the way that I manage my chi. And if I'm in one stance, then jabbing is pure healing, where I don't even do damage to the boss. It's just whatever I did in that is whatever I would have done to the boss, it instead gets distributed to my target, or something like that.
Go up and punch people. Like now, boom! I heal you.
One of the ways that I describe Mistweavers is that, you know, we run up to bosses and we do sweet kung fu, and everyone just is such an awe in our kung fu that they feel better automatically.
All right, Sunny, what do you think about Brewmaster? What would you like to see changed?
I honestly don't see any major changes. We're probably going to see some of the stat changes trickle down. Like, I expect something big will happen to Reforging in general and to capped stats like hit and expertise and dodge and parry and stuff like that. I don't know what those will be, but they've been hinting that that's going to happen. But I think Brewmasters are pretty... We've got some good, solid design, and they could do some stuff like making it easier for people to pick it up in the first place, but they don't need to do that, and it probably disappoint a lot of people like me. So,
any new abilities?
Yeah.
Any holes in your tanking rotation you think could be filled?
no, I actually imagine that they would be removing abilities, things that kind of cover multiple niches, like Clash or Avert Harm. I especially expect them to take away Avert Harm. They've already threatened that, so...
Yeah. It's not a very
taking
common...
out a lot of spells anyway.
Yeah. Item and ability squish at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. What about Windwalkers, do you think? Air?
I mean, they made some really nice changes in 5.4 to the playstyle to make us a bit... we got that Tiger Saber burst now without relying on a trinket, which is nice. I think in general, especially with the way we went from single target amazingness to being the cleave masters, it's kind of really fun. So we're kind of finding our own little niche. The big thing is people still talk about the lack of any kind of significant cooldown in especially 10-man heroic situations. So maybe we'll see either some kind of balancing with that, or maybe we'll finally get some off-heals. It'd be nice to see our off-healing go up a little bit, to be completely honest, instead of just 1% of helping out the raid. But I think we're pretty good overall.
Yeah, I would
What
love to
about
see
the
some...
Windwalker's burst damage at the beginning of the fight? I heard that was pretty low.
It used to be. Now that we have the Chi Brew change, when they hotfix Chi Brew, we can get a 10 stack, 8 to 10 stack very quickly, still within the proc time of our initial trinkets, and definitely enough time within, heroism, etc. So we're not the same level, but we're a lot more competitive than we used to be, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you, Air, that I think having a more off healing would be very helpful, and because right now we have healing sphere, and that's really about it that we can do. You can glyph into expel harm to heal, but that's a pretty minuscule one. But
they nerfed it pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, but there would be a number of times, especially in like Immerseus, like we were talking about, having something where we could heal those things better than just sitting there and here's a heal sphere, here's a heal sphere, here's a heal sphere. Wait for energy. Here's a heal sphere. Here's a but there are a number of times where it's like I see the healer struggling and I'm like, oh, I want to throw something, heal, and that's supposed to be our utility, and it's very minimal. So yeah, I agree. Having some extra healing would be excellent there.
Get that defined somehow, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still on board with the take the utility away from the other classes rather than give us utility. We have too many buttons as is. So, but
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Would you take healing for high energy cost? If they gave you more healing at higher energy cost, would you take it?
Yes.
Not sure how well that balances out considering their regen.
Yeah, because if we give up, if we're focusing on healing, we're not DPSing. So we use our energy to DPS. So using our energy to heal, that's a fine trade-off, I think.
I think the risk there is that you might become more, not effective, but more efficient than a dedicated healer.
Right. I think having possibly Chi play into it, just like your uplifts, giving us a Chi spend for healing would be good too. Because right now all of our healing is energy based. It's healing sphere and expel harm, and that's all energy based. So having a Chi heal would be good too. But I'm wondering if they're going to go back to, and I brought this up in the Mistweaver roundtable, and I think it'd be kind of fun to do, is when they first announced the monks, they had a dark side of the Chi and light side of the Chi. And that's when they first announced it. That kind of went away after a while. It was too complex, but I think they could, now they've had a year or two to play with it. I think that would be something fun for fist weaving. If they made fist weaving more doable, be able to swap to a dark side Chi to do damage, and you're like 75% damage, 25% heals. And then if you
I'd love to see that as part of like stance weaving.
Right. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if they gave you guys another stance for healing, and you can switch to another stance and do more damage and less healing, and then switch back and do heavy healing and less damage. I think that'd be kind of
You
fun.
could you could do two. You could do right now. We have Stance of the Wise Serpent. You could do Stance of the Brave Crane, which is your dedicated. I'm a ranged healer, and then Stance of the Wise Serpent would be more of a Fistweaver stance, and you'd be able to alternate between the two. And then suddenly now we follow both Chi-Ji and Yulon. Yay! We can use all that stuff, and it makes lore-wise sense.
And they could give Windwalkers the Brave Crane as well. And have that be, or the Wise Serpent, and have us do more healing that way. I think that would be kind of cool.
That would be. It would definitely get you back into fist weaving, especially stance jumping like that, or the light chi and dark chi. I would love to see that light chi and dark chi come back. Although I played beta and I don't remember seeing it, but
it was when they first announced it.
They dropped it before beta
public
started.
Beta. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They also dropped
it never went through any public testing, which is unfortunate. I really would have loved to have seen what a public beta made of that.
They also dropped the no auto attacks. They were going to make it so we were all ability based instead of auto attacks. So, and they dropped that.
I actually think that change was better because World of Warcraft is not a Twitch gaming. It is not for
the
Twitch
Windwalker
gaming,
is a very heavy Twitch class to begin with, so it really wouldn't have hurt us too bad because you're not sitting
more than
there.
Death Knights weren't math.
Yeah.
So it's just, you got to manage your GCDs. If you didn't have to manage GCDs and you were just a straight, as fast as I act, as fast as I put out, then at that point, anybody who has bad ping one day is going to lose 40,000 DPS.
Right.
I think they considered that.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why they went with ability based. I also think the other reason they went is because their tech isn't built to manage that kind of thing. So all of a sudden they're trying to, shove in some extra ability, and they're like, no, server, no computey.
So monks right now are conspicuously missing from the other WoW game called Hearthstone. There's a few monk cards out there, but when do we expect to see a monk deck?
Right after Death Knight.
Oh, that's right. They're not in there either.
Yeah, DK's not there either.
Wow. I was trying to figure out who else was missing.
We had a fight Low Walker Chill at the beginning, though, so I mean, they have the basis for a monk
There's
deck, right?
there's a few Brewmaster cards, and
they have two Brewmasters, a training or aspiring Brewmaster, and another one. And basically, they have the same ability. Hey, you're going to take a friendly minion off your board and back into your hand.
oh, I love using that one. It works so well.
Yeah, it's great.
They have another Pandarian one. I think it's a taunt Mogushan Warden.
Right, yeah, that's right. They have
It's
the
the dude from the Pandaria loading screen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's who he is. Okay. I had no idea. I thought he was like
I don't know if we'll
good-looking version
see
of
ourselves in Hearthstone anytime soon. I think that's something that they're going to wait for a little bit.
I hope so. 'cause I
I'd
wanna
love
make
to.
that my main.
I'd love to see it because I think it would make for a great deck. Because all of a sudden you're able to put out very specific control. You're able to put out very specific self heals. I think the Brewmaster almost translates to a card game right now.
Right. Okay. Well, any last thoughts on BlizzCon before the big day arrives?
I did get one thing through. Twitter. From Tian the Tank, who's at Wipe Shots. It's something that has been talked about before, but I figured we could bring it up one more time here. Change the Zuan talent to offer a Yulong and Zhao summon, depending on monk spec. I'd really like to see that, not only because it's a really cool ability, but because there's a lot of freaking monks who want that.
Yes, I would love to see Zuen turn into whichever stance you're in.
Yeah, and even if there's no change whatsoever, it still puts out DPS and everything else. Just kind of make it. Why am I summoning a tiger? I'm a healer. Give me a dragon. Give me a crane. Give me something. And succubus. Nayuki's right. We need more succubus.
Yes. Okay, well, let's talk about the monk community at the Peak of Serenity with
Zen Pilgrimage.
Oh, it's been a long day. Okay. All right. So, any questions from the dojo? Go ahead and put it in there, and we'll get to it here in a couple minutes. So, I want to talk about a forum post at MMO Champion Forums. It was brought up last week during the Mistweaver Roundtable. It's called the Serpent's Accord. So this is a great guide for Mistweavers of all levels, whether you're just starting out or want to learn the class, or if you've played it a while and just want to step up your game. So Duke and Naoyuki, is this a resource you guys utilize?
Yes. I was checking it out today, actually, during work when the servers were down. And this forum kind of reminds me of Elitist Jerks. It's a great site, if, like you said, if you're just starting out. It has all the information you need. It has the math. It has the stats, the strats. It has charts in there, the gear that you need, the macros. Only thing that's missing is add-ons, but you can get some add-ons from a couple friends, or if you want, you can use Affinity's add-ons, which is good. Weak Auras is the best. But as far as that forum goes, I recommend it, because it's kind of like Elitist Jerks, Icy Veins, and Ask Mr. Robot all mixed in one. So if you're just starting out, I suggest you go there, read up on all the info that's there, and everything that I've read, it's up to date as far as patch 5.4.
Yes, yeah, they are keeping it up to date, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's easy to find. You can go to the MMO Champion forums and search for Serpent's Accord. You can probably just Google Serpent's Accord, but I'll also put a link in the show notes, so check there and you can click on that.
Yep.
MMO Champ has a separate thread, one for Brewmasters and one for Windwalkers as well, that are really good guides to kind of get you into the specs too, which I highly recommend. I've been reading that Serpent's Accord one because I have been told that for Heroic Thok I have to go fist weaving. So, gentlemen, I'm learning how to heal.
Jab, jab, uplift.
Welcome to the
Doesn't work
dark
anymore.
side. Welcome to the dark side.
It's not jab, jab, uplift anymore.
No, it's not. So I gotta hit more buttons and
Soothe
look at other
uplift.
bars, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's been a good resource for me for learning how to do this. So.
All right. So, any shout-outs for this week?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to everyone that has been in our past episodes with all the roundtables. Just want to give them a thank you for coming and sharing their experience and their thoughts on the show. I loved watching them all. I loved being in them, and hopefully we get to have them again soon.
Yeah, thanks Affinity for getting me an FCC fine with all those swear words. Jeez.
You mean it wasn't me? Holy hell.
I had to put an explicit tag on that thing. But yeah, the roundtables, if you guys haven't watched those yet, go back and watch them. They're on Twitch and YouTube. You can listen to them on the stream as well. And they are really good. The Mistweaver one, we had 4 heroic raiders on there discussing it. Mistweaver one, we had Affinity and Suplift, and then Duke and Naoyuki. So we had a good range of experience there.
And then Reglitch crashed a party.
Yep. And we had our first British player on our Brewmaster one. So Valen was excellent in there. And he's usually in the dojo, and he's not there tonight, so I'm sad. So the Brewmaster one was really good too. We had some heroic raiders, we had some normal raiders, and casual raiders. So it was really good. And I'm still looking for PvP players. I've got a couple of them now. Working on the roundtable. We just didn't have enough to do it this week. So if you know any PvP monks out there, please reach out to me, and we can get that going. So just so
we really want to learn how to PvP, guys. 'Cause
yes,
nobody here knows what they're doing.
Right. I go and I
Run
punch
away.
stuff
That's
until
what
I
I do.
die.
Go hide in a bush.
Like, oh crap, I'm
Hopefully we
flagged.
win.
Earth.
Okay, so on Friday, when BlizzCon happens, we're going to be doing some commentary as the day goes on, and the different panels and the time between the panels. We'll just have people in. So we've actually rented out a server, a Mumble server, and I will post that information in Twitter for you guys to jump in. It's 10 persons, so we'll be able to have quite a few people in at a time to chat. So anytime during BlizzCon, if you're sitting there with a virtual ticket, or if you're crazy enough to be at BlizzCon and want to take the time to hop on a Mumble on your phone, by all means, hop on in and just chat about what's going on, and we'd love to talk to everybody.
And it doesn't have to be strictly monk related. If you want to talk about why disc priests deserve to be at the top, you can go ahead and pander your crazy stuff, but why not? There's an audience for you.
So
they're going to take my brakes, aren't they?
Yes.
They already ruined my car. They're going to take
they-
the brakes next.
Yeah, you better watch yourself, sir. Remember, they do damage when they're healing. All right.
Oh, damn. Where have I heard that before?
Okay, you guys, I think it's time to get our furry butts out of here. But first, let's go to see those awesome 5-star reviews. I know Pandier left us 5 stars in the Australia iTunes, so he said, great discussions and tips on all things monk. Keep it up. Do we get anything else now, Yuki?
Yep, we have one from One Dragon Strike, also left us a 5-star, and said, I listen to the show every week, although not live. I follow several of the guests you've hosted because they're also really great. The materials covered are excellent and important topics. Keep it up, guys.
And he got a Pandaren Brewmaster pet from us last week, too, so that helps.
Nice.
We also have one from Austin McCulley. He left us a 5-star as well. He says, while I haven't reached 90 yet, it's very informative on what to look forward to. Keep it up. And thank you guys for the 5 stars.
Yeah, thank you all so much. So please rate us on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube or on twitch.tv. It really does help out. And I want to thank everyone for listening. You can watch us live in 2 weeks, where we'll be seeing if any of the monks here are oracles. Check back our predictions, see how we did. So that's going to be Monday, November 18th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/wildmonk, or after the fact on iTunes, Stitcher, Twitch, monkmeditation.com, where you can buy the hosts a cup of mana tea for bringing you the best monk discussion on the interwebs. As part of the monk community, if you have a blog, website, or person you want to see on the show, reach out to us via email at monkmeditation@gmail.com. The monk community is the best one in the World of Warcraft, and we want to showcase it. Duke, how can the dojo best reach us?
Well, we all hang out very mightily on Twitter. You can follow Chai T at WowMonk. Now Yuki is at NowYuki_CTR. Ayer is at AyerMonk. Daikatsu, me, I'm at DaikatsuCTR, no underscore. And Sunnier is at SunnierBear or Sunnier'sArtofWar.com.
All right, that wraps up this episode of Monk Meditation. Have a blast at BlizzCon if you're going. If not, join us and have a blast anyways. May your brews be strong and your heart stronger.